She called me just after 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. "Hey, sis!" Her voice practically sparkled through the phone. Immediately I knew something was wrong. Olivia only got that giddy when she'd done something impulsive or reckless. "So, don't freak out," she said, stretching each word like it needed a cushion. "But I kinda maxed out your cards." I didn't say anything. Couldn't. I was still standing in my work heels inside my tiny one-bedroom in downtown Phoenix, blinking at the push notifications that had lit up my phone. $48,000, 0 cents in charges. One day, "All mine. But don't worry," she added cheerfully. "Mom and Dad said you'd understand. I just closed on my dream home." The way she said dream home, like it was some rite of passage, not a crime scene. "I mean, you always play it safe, Emma," she continued. "And I've been working so hard on my influencer stuff, I needed a space that reflects that, something inspirational, you know?" There was no apology in her voice, no hesitation, just vibes and delusion. I finally exhaled, set my work laptop down carefully so I wouldn't snap it in two. "When's the housewarming?" I asked, tone level like my pulse wasn't thudding against my collarbone. "This Saturday. You have to come. I mean, you basically bought it." She laughed like that was charming. Then she hung up. I stood still for a while, letting the silence fill in the corners of my apartment. Outside, cars hissed by on wet pavement. Inside, everything was still. My hands trembled, but not from panic. This wasn't fear. Not anymore. It was clarity. I opened the folder I'd created 6 months ago, labeled one word, Olivia. Inside were flagged emails, saved voicemails, still shots from my front door camera. The one I installed the week after she borrowed my laptop and somehow forgot to return it for 3 months. I'd hoped I wouldn't need to open that folder, but here we were. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was from my mother. "Sweetheart, please don't be upset. Olivia really needed this. Think of it as a gift. You're always okay. You'll land on your feet." I stared at the text, though always made it sound like their betrayal was my badge of honor. And maybe they were right. I was okay, just not in the way they thought. I started a list, not of everything I'd lost. There wasn't enough paper in the world for that. But of what I was going to do next. See. This wasn't the first time Olivia had stolen from me. The first time I was 18, senior year. I had my suitcase packed for college when Mom sat me down and said, "Your sister needed a little startup money for her boutique idea. You'll find a way, you're so good with numbers." So I found a way. 2 jobs, canned soup dinners, late nights in the library because I couldn't afford a laptop of my own. Then came the car, my first real one. Bought it after saving for 3 years. Olivia borrowed it for a girls' weekend in Sedona. It came back in pieces. My insurance dropped me. "She's fragile right now," Dad said, handing me a bus card. "Be understanding." That was always the refrain. "You're strong, Emma. She's not." I absorbed it all. The debt, the disappointment, the silence. Because I thought being the dependable one meant never saying no. That one day maybe they'd see what it was costing me. But hope thinned out fast when the bank called last fall about a loan I hadn't applied for. Another $15,000, 0 cents under my name. I didn't tell her. I didn't confront her. I started documenting. I bought a couple of cameras, installed one above my door, one inside my desk drawer, started saving every fishy email, every suspicious message from our parents. So when Olivia called about the house, I didn't panic. I just opened the file. The most damning clip was from 3 weeks prior. Her unlocking my apartment door. She'd sworn she'd returned the key, then casually rummaging through my desk until she found my wallet, holding my gold card up like it was a trophy. I paused the video right there, her face frozen in that smug, childlike grin, like she'd won something. But this time, I wasn't playing the supporting role in her performance. This time, I had the script. I spent the next 48 hours assembling a timeline. Emails from Mom saying things like, "Just help her out quietly, she's under a lot of pressure." A text from Dad, "You're good at fixing things, just fix this one too." They wrapped their betrayal in concern like it was love. But real love doesn't require you to disappear for someone else's shine. Then I opened Instagram. There she was, spinning in her new marble kitchen in a reel captioned, "The universe provides when you believe." Apparently, the universe had a platinum visa. In another post, she stood arm in arm with my parents on her new front porch. Matching outfits, filtered smiles. No mention of me, of course. Or the 4 credit cards she emptied. But what really got me was the house. That house. I knew that development, knew it too well. I was one of the analysts who structured the investment package for the entire community. I'd built the model. I knew who owned, which lots, what zoning waivers were still pending, which homeowners were behind on taxes. I even knew the developer personally. And I knew, cold as stone, that they had no idea the buyer of that house had funded it with stolen credit. By Tuesday, she'd posted another video, this one with a caption that read, "Morning light in my forever home. Grateful doesn't even begin to cover it." I stared at the screen and realized something. They'd all been counting on me to stay quiet. But I wasn't quiet anymore. By Wednesday morning, I had already called my real estate attorney. By Thursday afternoon, I was in a quiet conference room with 2 of our compliance officers at Stratwell & Bennett, the firm where I'd spent the last 9 years climbing from junior analyst to associate director. I wasn't there to gossip. I laid out the facts, neatly ordered, legally airtight. We reviewed development contracts, internal documents, and every financial link I had to the property. That house, her house, sat on land my department helped underwrite. My signature didn't appear anywhere publicly, but behind the scenes I had my fingerprints on everything. The financing, the infrastructure plans, even the builder's promotional strategy. And now, thanks to my sister's arrogance, I was about to have my justice built on the same foundation. By Friday evening, I had a thick envelope prepared. Inside were printed stills of security footage, notarized screenshots of Instagram posts, credit card statements, and a signed statement from the property manager confirming the purchase had been completed under my name. I slipped everything into my leather bag, zipped it shut, and let myself breathe for the first time all week. Saturday arrived, humid and loud, like Arizona was holding its breath. I pulled into the circular driveway just before noon, surrounded by shiny SUVs and foreign sedans. Someone I didn't recognize handed me a mimosa before I even reached the door. The house smelled like new paint and ambition. Candles burning in every corner. The scent somewhere between expensive spa and denial. Olivia floated over in a pale gold wrap dress, eyes wide with excitement, like she hadn't just committed fraud against her own sister. "You made it," she squealed, hugging me like nothing had happened. "You have to see the upstairs bathroom. It's giving 4 seasons." I smiled and hugged her back, feeling that moment stretch longer than it should have. Then I said, "Actually, I brought you a housewarming gift." Her grin widened. "You didn't have to. I mean, technically you already did." She laughed again. That laugh had gotten her out of everything from broken curfews to bounced checks. I raised my voice slightly, enough to catch attention. "I think this is something the whole family should see." Heads turned, conversations stalled. My parents stood near the dining table, champagne flutes in hand, suddenly watching me with growing concern. "Mom! Dad! Could you come here, please?" They exchanged a look. That old, rehearsed, weary look. They knew that tone. It was the one I used when I finally gave up waiting for them to step in. The kitchen island was made of white quartz with gold veining. It made a beautiful stage. I placed the envelope on the counter and began laying out the contents, piece by piece. A still image of Olivia in my apartment. Another of her holding my credit card like it was hers, the timestamp clear. The video still's undeniable. Next came the screenshots of her Instagram captions, printed and notarized. The statements from my bank. The emails from my parents. As I placed each item down, the room got quieter. Even the candles seemed to burn slower. Family, I placed the last page, an overview of the criminal statutes she had violated. Identity theft, fraud, illegal entry. Olivia stared at the table, eyes bouncing from photo to photo like it was some surreal game of spot the lie. Her voice cracked for the first time, barely above a whisper. "You're joking, right?" I looked her dead in the eye. "No, I'm finally serious." No one moved. No one poured another drink. I could hear the air conditioner hum. "I told you I brought a gift," I said. "Now it's time to open it." Then, calmly, I reached back into my bag and pulled out a second set of documents bound together. Signed by my attorney. "You have 2 choices," I said. "Option 1, sign over the deed to the house and agree to a structured repayment plan. Every dollar you took, with interest. Notarized, legal, binding." Her mouth opened, no words came out. "Option 2, I continued, I hand all of this to the authorities, including the video, the forged lease application, and the bank alerts from 6 months ago." She blinked hard. "This is insane, we're family." "That's why it went this far," I said, "because everyone kept using that word as a shield for bad behavior. I was going to pay you back," she said quickly, her voice pitching into desperation. "Once my content started bringing in real money." "No," I interrupted, calm and clear. "You were going to wait for me to forget, like always." Dad finally stepped forward, brow furrowed. "Emma." "Come on. Jail? Over some credit cards?" "It's not about the money," I said. "It's about everything else. The lies. The way you all let it happen and kept asking me to carry more." Mom's voice trembled. "We didn't mean for it to go this far. We just wanted her to have something stable." "You wanted her to succeed at my expense," I said, "and expected me to quietly make it all work." Olivia's fingers hovered above the papers, shaking. "You'd really do this to me? Your own sister?" "You already did this to me," I said, "and no one stopped you." She turned to our parents for help. They said nothing, for once. They had no rehearsed response, no smooth excuse. I pushed the pen toward her. "This isn't revenge, it's boundaries." She hesitated, her hand hovered over the pen like it might burn her. For the first time in years, I let the silence do the talking, because growth lives in discomfort, and I was done carrying hers for her. Olivia showed up to the signing 15 minutes late, flanked by our parents like she was being led into a courtroom. Her usual look, glamorous, polished, social media perfect, was toned down. No lashes, neutral tones. A slouchy cardigan that looked carefully selected to appear humbled. But her eyes still had that flicker. That edge that said she thought she had one more trick up her sleeve. "I have something to add," she said, sliding a folder across the table to my attorney Diana before even sitting down. "Before we go any further, I think you should see this." Diana calmly opened it. Inside was a photocopy of a document, apparently a contract, dated 6 years earlier. It had my signature at the bottom, and a clause in the middle claiming that I had agreed to financially support any of Olivia's future ventures. "This proves Emma agreed to back my business efforts," Olivia said, her voice steady but rehearsed. "This house was part of that." My parents nodded like backup dancers. Dad folded his arms with that smirk he always wore when he thought he was ahead of the game. I picked up the paper and glanced at Deanna. "Show them." She turned her laptop toward the table and pressed play on a short video. Rainy footage, shot from a small camera mounted inside my old apartment. Olivia, at my desk, tracing a signature again and again. 8 times, to be exact, practicing until it matched mine. The timestamp put it 2 days before that contract was supposedly signed. "I've known about this for years," I said, my voice low and even. "I just hoped I wouldn't need it. But now that she's trying to use a forged signature to influence legal proceedings, it's not just fraud. It's evidence." Diana slid the original agreement back across the table. "So," she said calmly, "do we proceed with the original terms or take this to court?" Olivia, her jaw clenched, her eyes bouncing between the video, my face, and her parents. Our parents, who suddenly weren't so sure they were on her side. The silence in that room was different than the one I'd grown up with. This wasn't the kind that filled the space after someone ignored a wound. This was the kind that sits in a courtroom when everyone knows what just happened, and no one can pretend otherwise. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "Sign it!" Olivia blinked at him. "What?" "You heard me," he said. "Sign the papers." Her lips parted like she was about to argue, but nothing came. She looked stunned. Like the only person who had ever protected her from consequences had finally stepped back. Mom leaned in gently. "Emma, she didn't mean it. She just gets carried away sometimes." "I know," I said, not unkindly. "It's why this has to happen. But she's your sister." "And I'm your daughter," I replied. But that didn't matter when I was the one cleaning up her messes. Olivia stared at the papers, not moving. Her fingers hovered over the folder like they were too heavy to lift. I didn't speak again. I wasn't going to beg for accountability. I wasn't going to make it easy. Dad walked over, picked up the pen, and dropped it in front of her. "Enough," he said, the word landing like a brick. Her signature was shaky, not stylish, not polished, just real, just hers. Diana notarized the documents. I watched the legal seals go on each page, each one a nail in the door I was finally closing behind me. No one cried, no one hugged. I gathered the signed pages, slid them into a new folder, and stood up. I didn't offer a speech. I didn't look back. I walked out, and no one followed. That night, for the first time in years, I slept without dreaming of emergencies. It's been a year since that signing. Olivia didn't go to jail. I didn't press charges, but she stuck to the repayment plan. Every month, like clockwork, a payment arrives. No excuses, no missed deadlines. She got a job, a real one, marketing associate at a regional ad agency. Nothing glamorous, but something stable. Her Instagram is different now. Gone are the filters, the borrowed luxury, the faux spiritual captions. Now she posts about budgeting, spreadsheets, and the occasional coffee mug with a quiet caption like, "Progress over perfection." Sometimes I scroll through and wonder how much of it is real, but then I remind myself, at least now she's pretending in the right direction. Dad called a few months back. He didn't make excuses, he just said he was sorry, that he started seeing a therapist, that maybe they failed both of us in different ways. It wasn't everything, but it was something. Mom didn't call, but she left a voicemail last week. Her voice was softer than I remembered. "You were right, Emma. We never let her fall. That's on us." I saved the message. I haven't replied yet. Some days, I wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed quiet again. If I had signed those papers, or let them talk me into another sacrifice. But then I think about the changes. Not perfect, not sudden, but real. And I know silence would have cost all of us more than we could afford. The house sold in the spring. A young couple bought it. First-time homeowners with a baby on the way. I left them a handwritten note on the kitchen counter. May this home hold more honesty than mine ever did. The profit paid off my balances and covered the legal fees. I didn't keep the rest. I put it toward a small condo downtown, just enough space for one person. Mornings full of light, evenings full of quiet. No hidden cameras, no folders labeled contingency. I wasn't waiting for anyone to hurt me anymore. Last quarter, I got the promotion. VP of Strategic Finance. My boss said I'd shown extraordinary integrity in complex internal conflict. I almost laughed. I didn't tell him the conflict shared my last name. Olivia still texts monthly with payment receipts. No emojis, just a short message, sent early this time. I reply, "Received, thank you." That's our new rhythm. Clean, distant, professional. Sometimes I see my parents for dinner. We talk about weather, books, the progress they're making in therapy. We don't talk about the house, or the forged documents, or the decades of silence that nearly drowned me. And that's okay, because I sleep well, not because everything's perfect, but because for once, it's finally mine.